The story of the 6 legendary warriors that delved deeply into the Shinjuku sewers to save the digital world is about to be reborn. Rentaro was sent to Shinjuku with the mission to eliminate the anomalous phenomena. In pursuit of one such anomaly, he finds himself in the Shinjuku underground with nothing but 36 out of his 100 girlfriends for company. Together with Kusuri, Eru, Kurumi, Karane, Meru, and Nemu, Rentaro makes his way through the tunnels and meets a strange girl whom he feels the need to protect. Together, they leave the tunnels and are attacked by a monster, but saved by a white figure. Together, they climb the tower, defeat the monster on the roof, and thanks to a mysterious fist showing up from the sky, the world seems to explode. And we vanish. The Shinjuku sewers, the unstoppable Raremon. With our head pounding and our hands shaking from the explosion, we awaken to 3 voices arguing who or what we could be. As we get up, they settle on us being human, and also being dangerous. The voices we can hear belong to these 3. Minervamon, the big sister of the group, Coronamon and Lunamon, the younger twins. Branded an intruder, I'm forced to explain myself, only to be accused of being an egg thief. But before I can clarify anything, the dark shadow from before shows up again, and absolutely self-defends their way to the bottom of the staircase. With Minervamon down, Lunamon explains that the egg is extremely important and must be protected. And I am, naturally, the only one who can do it. We give chase. Whatever that egg is, it must be protected. I can't explain it, but I feel compelled to keep the egg safe, no matter what. I tackle the dark figure, but in the process, the egg falls from its shrine, and it destroys the temple. As me and the shadow fall to Lord knows where, we see the last bit of the conversation between the siblings. Apparently the egg belongs to a great guardian, one who would save the world, and since we're responsible for it falling out of the temple, we are branded an egg thief. Before we can go back to me, however, the scene shifts to a small cozy room with 3 kids, each sitting down on a chair. First is the one labeled Calm Boy. He seems to be talking about some unforeseen responsibilities they must contend with. He says that whatever conflict is coming, they can't stay entirely uninvolved. Next is the one labeled Arrogant Girl. She says that whatever crisis the boy was referring to is happening in the domain of the third kid, whom she calls Homeros. And finally, the third kid, who we know is called Homeros, simply sighs and nods along, seemingly uninvested in the conversation. Back to my point of view, I find myself falling once again, this time hitting hard concrete and miraculously not doing my backhand. I get up and find myself in the plaza, filled with curious people looking around the place. Something must have happened here. I look around, scouting for any potential anomalous phenomena, only to find a middle-aged man arguing with some suits with a black military vehicle. The argument seems to get heated, up until two people who seem to be in charge show up, Kuroi Shota and Shiroki Asuna. The middle-aged man gets upset when they mention the breach, saying that his daughter might still be in there. The man seems very stubborn about being the one to save his daughter instead of the suits. As Mr. Kuroi tries to reassure the man, he gets more and more agitated and says, "This organization never changes," storming off on his own. Kuroi gives the order to prepare for the breach, and I think that's our cue to move out, since I don't want to get yelled at as well. We move over to a locked gate, and in front of it is the middle-aged man. He comments on our outfit before asking what we want from him. Being the good agents that we are, we ask if we can help him. He begins by talking about his daughter before he's interrupted by a phone call. His daughter, on the other line, is screaming about something bad underground. Panicking and finding himself without options, the man asks for help. With the help of our girls, we manage to break through the locked gate, and the man begs us to safeguard his daughter. Before we head inside, however, our girls have earned the right to evolve further. Each and every girl that has been on my team so far has distinguished themselves enough to be able to change forms now. And so, here are the evolution results. Thanks to Haragakurumi's voracious appetite, the form that calls for her is that of Tuskmon, the ravenous dinosaur. Yakuza Kusuri and her impish nature makes for an ideal candidate for evolving into Renamon. Bonus points for having a small and a big form she can alternate between. Fukata Eru as always needs her twin tails, but lacking that, she's earned the right to settle for twin light blades instead. Zetsuboda Meiru's heart grows with more and more despair as she becomes closer to darkness in her soul and becomes a blue-gray mon. Inda Karane showcases her strength and potential by becoming the iconic Greymon. Nemui Nemu decided to sleep and rest her soul by becoming the soul itself, Bakemon. These girls will not be accompanying me through the next dungeon, however. I will need others to come with me for it. As I contemplate the idea of entering the sewers, a thought comes to my mind. It would be unfair to conscript the girls into going with me. I can't force them to fight like this. And so, I asked them all a question. We are about to delve into a dark, cramped, scary sewer in order to rescue a single girl from the clutches of some monster. Who is with me? As I looked around, I saw their faces darken with fear, but one of them stood up. "Let us depart and rescue the maiden from the evil dragon's clutches," said Shizuka. Rescuing a young lady from peril is the chivalrous thing to do. Would you not agree? Said Kishika shortly after, offering herself as well. Working alongside those you have strong bonds with is the most efficient path to victory, said Nano. If we all work together and give it our all, nothing is going to stop us, said Iku. I would rather die than let a parent lose their beloved child, whispered Hahari, getting up as well. If Hahari-sama orders it, then I shall greet the honored foes with a swift death, said Mei. And thus, our second team was born. I'll go around describing each and every one of them soon, including the particular quirks of how they all interact. For now, we all huddle together into a group hug and make our way into the sewers. As we walk inside, it doesn't take long for us to find something out of place. A young girl collapsed on the floor. Unfortunately for the middle-aged man, this is not his daughter, but instead a simple acquaintance. She screams some nonsense about monsters as she wakes up, but quickly regains her composure. She explains that she was recording a video with the expectation of it going viral from all the strange sightings in the sewers. She proudly announces that she's the streamer behind Okol Tokyo TV, Sagisaka Hiroko, immediately before passing out again from the shock of seeing a Digimon. The man asks us if we know what's up with the monsters, and we explain phase electron life forms for him, which, according to him, makes this just like last time. And with that ominous comment, we press on into the sewers. Before we can get to explaining the actual mechanics of my team, I need to explain a couple of game mechanics that I glazed past before, those being extra attacks and cross arts. Extra attacks are a bonus attack that can happen after you attack an enemy Digimon. Your Digimon will hit an extra time, and then one of many possible effects will happen. Depending on your Digimon's personality, ranging from dropping enemy stats, raising your own, recovering your HP or SP, casting a bad status effect on the enemy, or even attacking them once more. Extra attacks may be random, but they are an important part of the mechanics of this game, and they help me with many battles in the sewers. Although it's important to note that in certain specific occasions, it may be more strategic not to trigger them when given the opportunity. The next mechanic I want to talk about is cross arts. Your avatar has several arts available to them throughout their journey, starting with only one and upgrading the more you progress. Since this is New Game Plus, we have access to every fully upgraded cross art, and that is going to be very important in our run. For the moment, we are using Cross Arts Strike, which deals massive damage to a single target of our choice. This will be very important for the random encounters in the sewers, seeing as every enemy is incredibly tanky. I won't go into every detail on what every cross art does, but if I have to use one that I haven't used before, I'll make sure to explain it. With all that said, how did my team of brave girls fare against the enemy? Well, the team worked fine enough, most of the time. This is what the girls looked like. First, there was Torotoro Kishika, a resident noble knight. She has a decent defenses and with good enough speed to guarantee that she'll go first. Thanks to her highest spirit, she can double as our healer, while also having access to Safety Guard to guarantee everyone survives a lethal blow. Next, we have Stoiku, who, much like Kusuri before her, is a resident poison applier, with poison being the most efficient damage sources in the game against these mighty enemies. Iku is also, of course, a powerful physical tank with just enough spirit to be able to heal in a pinch, but not enough to survive a magical attack from an enemy. We have to be extra careful when using Hate Charge to redirect damage to herself. Next up, AI Nano has a very similar set to Iku, with the goal of being an off tank, someone who can soak up hits while the main tank is indisposed. With these two at my side, I have a good chance of surviving enemy hits, as long as they aren't of a magical nature. On the back row, we have Yoshimoto Shizuka, a magical attacker with almost capped intelligence, and powerful moves to go with it. But very poor defenses, so we need to use her sparingly. We need to essentially only deploy her when she's fully buffed, attack, and retreat immediately. Then we have Meido Mei, who has a very similar set to Shizuka. She has a little bit less intelligence than Shizuka, but she makes up for it by being a data type, and thus being more powerful against a few vaccine type Digimon in the dungeon. Lastly, Hanazono Hahari has great magical defense, with her physical defense suffering massively from it. If she's hit from the physical side, she will not survive. That said, she's here for one very specific purpose: to offer the undying support that only a mother could. By buffing the attackers and healing the tanks when needed, Hahari is an indispensable part of this team. It took me a while and some trial and error, but I managed to fall into the comfortable loop of using my fastest units, those being Yoshimoto Shizuka and Meidome, to switch into my tankiest units to front. Using the standard hate charge, this time on 2 different units so I could choose how to split the damage, and one of my tanks doubling as a healer. After several turns of juggling damage around and buffing the back rows, as well as poisoning everyone I could see, I would switch up into my attackers for one brief turn, attack with all my might, then switch back before the enemy could react. This strategy worked well enough for 90% of the dungeon, despite being extremely slow. The problem, however, came in the form of the enemy Piyomon. It was once I entered a fight against one of these that I realized something crucial. My team had absolutely no responses to magical attacking vaccine types, given that all my tanks were virus. That complicated things. What complicated things even further was the fact that my cross-art strike only dealt a third of their HP in damage, and me not wanting to risk Mei's life in vain meant only one thing. I had to put Piyomon out of commission as soon as possible, and attack them only using my cross arts, while doing all I could to survive the other enemy Digimon on the side. Together with my girls, we came up with a brilliant plan. My tanks would alternate around using Idle Bubble on the Piyomon, putting it to sleep for 1 or more turns if it hits. If I manage to hit the sleep, I can work on buffing the back rows, recovering from the previous attacks, or even attacking the other enemy. If it doesn't work, I need to brace myself for a powerful attack from the Piyomon and hope I can put her to sleep in the next turn. During my time in these sewers, I fought 2 Piyomon in total, and in 2 separate fights. Each fight took me around 11 minutes of pure teeth-clenching action that almost got the girls killed, but I somehow managed to get past. Once I was through all the enemies, I found the man's daughter. This will be a boss fight, so before I proceed, I'll explain my team once more, since I've made some changes from the moment they finished dealing with the random encounters. This is my opening gambit. Meidome, Yoshimoto Shizuka, and Torotoro Kishika in the front lines for their superior speed. Meidome now has Nightmare 3, which is a powerful dark move. I happen to know that the boss is resistant to darkness. However, I also happen to know that the boss is a virus type. This gives me the freedom to use the item Known Bug on Mei, which has the same effect as casting Character Reversal on her, meaning that every ongoing and incoming attack will have its affinities reversed. So if I'm a data type that is normally weak to virus, I'll now resist the boss and deal extra damage. Similarly, if the boss resists darkness, now that I'm reversed, he will be weak to it. This is all in conjunction with the healing magic and safety guard to protect my team that makes Meidome a powerful attacker in this fight. Next, we have Yoshimoto Shizuka. She has the same set as Mei, except instead of Nightmare, she has the boss's actual weakness, Holy Light 3, which combined with her massive intelligence stat should deal massive damage. You might notice that when I don't have a specific item in mind for a Digimon, I place Evasion Attachment 2 on them. That is because I want to give them a small chance to survive lethal attacks, even if they would not be able to do so otherwise. Next is one of my first 3 tanks, Torotoro Kishika. She has X heal to help off the other tank, safety guard to protect someone if need be, but her biggest role is to toss out idle bubbles and hope they hit the enemy, while also extending the magic buff of Mei and Shizuka when needed. She's equipped with an item to stop her from receiving debuffs, which I believe to be very important in this fight. My next tank is AI Nano. She has the exact same setup as Kishika, except instead of extending the magical buffs, she's here to extend the critical buffs. It is going to be imperative that the DPS in this fight only come out to attack when they are at their absolute peak. and that includes doing what I can to guarantee a critical hit. Next up is Stoiku, with the same set as the previous ones, except with Spell Boost instead. Spell Boost is a move that makes the next spell that Digimon uses do double damage. Needless to say, this has to be up at all times. And finally, Hanazono Hahari has Safety Guard in case someone else needs it, Magic Charge and Spell Boost so she can back up the buff users in case Iku or Kishika fall in battle, and finally, Idle Bubble so she can help against the boss's relentless assault. With this team composition, let's see how the fight goes. With my chest pounding, I take a step forward. I spot the men's daughter, a familiar figure that, once I got a better look, I recognize as the girl I must protect. The girl was carrying a small Digimon who appears to be hurt. As we approached, the Digimon tensed up, but the girl reassured him that it was all okay. But before long, the thing that hurt the tiny Digimon showed up. A mass of sludge and muck, of mechanical implements and tubes, as well as many teeth coming out of it. Raremon. Once the man asked us to protect his daughter, our fate was set. We must defeat this abomination. Now, this fight took me 30 minutes in real life, so I'll summarize it as best as I can here. We entered the front lines with our frontline girls, as well as Elekmon, the small Digimon the girl was caring for. The first thing we do is safeguard the tanks in the back row, since they'll need to take most hits, and it's imperative that they're the safest units I have. Mei uses it on Nano, and Shizuka uses it on Iku. On Kishika's turn, however, I use a different cross art High Field. This art buffs my Digimon to the maximum, and also nullifies the damage they'll be taking on this turn, giving me a free chance to use Safety Guard on Kishika herself. The boss moves for 3 turns in a row. I'll explain every attack he has in detail, so you can understand how difficult it is to play around them. He tries to attack us, but thanks to the cross arts, he deals 0 damage. Mei then tags out with Iku, with Shizuka tagging out with Nano. And here comes the general flow of this fight. I'll explain what happens once, bringing up a few exceptions here and there, but assume this fight was 30 minutes of this. My tanks try to put the boss to sleep, in order to waste as many of his turns as we can, so we can use his free time to recover from his attacks and to set up in that order. We need to always be at full health, because this boss is nasty and can kill my units very easily depending on his move. At some point, the boss uses his other abilities, so I'll explain them here and rank them in order of danger. The least dangerous is his area of effect debuff to Spirit, seeing as all my tanks have an item that protects them from said debuff. Next is his signature ability Sludge, which poisons you and has a nasty debuff to your defense and spirit. Since we have that item, all it does is poison you and you can't be poisoned twice, so it's easy to play around. Next, he has his auto attacks. They hit a single target and deal low damage, easy to heal through. Then, in the actually dangerous area, there's Lunatic Gate 3, an area of effect physical damage with high crit chance. Since all my tanks are physical, they tend to respond well to this attack, but it's a scary one if the boss decides to spam it. The last one is one he also likes to spam, Hell Crusher 3. It's essentially a magic dark spread move. Unfortunately, all my tanks are physical, and Hahari, who could potentially survive this, cannot take physical hits. If he spams this, it is bad for us. Since all his dangerous moves are spread moves, it doesn't make much sense to use Hate Charge in this fight, so I have to YOLO a lot of it. My frontline girls were always busy trying to put the boss to sleep, then using their free turns to buff the back rows. Once they were in peak form, I would switch them in, attack, and switch them back so I could handle the oncoming retaliation. It doesn't take much, however, for a cutscene to play. The girl protects the Elekmon, placing her own life in danger. But I'm never going to let a girl get hurt if I can prevent it. I jump in front of her and prepare to fight, this time without the Elecmon. And now, the fight went by mostly in the same rhythm for a very long time. Buffing, putting the enemy to sleep, healing up, switching, attacking, switching back, repeating. This happened for a good while, until something interesting happened. All my girls were giving their all in this fight. They were doing all they could, but the nature of my strategy is that the more idle bubbles I miss, the more I was forced to play defensive. At some point, I was in a very tough spot, being forced to put all my resources to heal and reapply safety guards. If I stay true to the path of chivalry, this foul beast will be defeated, thought Kishika. We can't lose. We have to give 110% to beat this thing, thought Iku. Why am I placing myself in harm's way? There has to be a more efficient way to resolve the matter, thought Nano. And so, with a fully healed team, with all three of them having safety guards, we faced the brunt of all 3 turns of the boss's move, without the luxury of putting him to sleep for even one of those. Hellcrusher 3. Iku luckily managed to dodge thanks to her evasion attachment. Iku would have been in deep trouble if she hadn't, but the other 2 were hit by it. Hellcrusher 3 again. Iku once again managed to evade it, and by the grace of the love god, Kishka managed to deflect the blow with her counter personality skill, taking 0 damage. Nano, however, was in deep trouble. She mustered her strength. This was it, the enemy's last turn. Hellcrusher 3. The final Hellcrusher hit, dealing massive damage to everyone. Kishka survived with 1 HP thanks to the safety guard. Iku survived, but only because she dodged the previous 2 hits. Nano, on the other hand... Ah, I see now. This is why I placed myself in harm's way to begin with. It's the most efficient way to protect one's friends, said Nano. Those were her final words. And so it was that a rare miscalculation from Nano led to a swift and efficient demise. Taking Nano's place, Hahari swiftly joined the fray and tried to do her best to pick the situation up from where we left off, using her safety guard on Kishka and waiting for Iku to heal them up. In a huge strike of luck, or perhaps it was fate, Kishka landed a 3-turn sleep on the boss, guaranteeing a free turn of recuperation and setup. As we recovered and set up, the next turn arrives, and Kishka could only put the boss to sleep for 1 turn, meaning they would have 2 attacks after waking up. Hahari very wisely realized she couldn't do much and pressed guard. This command saved her life. It lowered the damage from the boss's physical attack just enough that it didn't break her safety guard. After a few more turns of relentless struggle, Iku decided the best thing to do would be to end this quickly. Iku tagged out to Shizuka, who dealt massive damage to the boss, leaving them in range for Mei, who was also buffed. The boss, however, had other plans. He managed to break through Kishka's safety guard, making her vulnerable to a kill next turn. This will not matter. If you order me so, I will dispatch this enemy for you, Lady Hahari, said Mei. Hahari thought long and hard about it. If she tagged out with Mei right now, Mei could deliver the final blow, and the fight would be over. But Mei's attack had a 5% chance of missing. After balancing out the weight of her maid's request, Hahari replied, "A lady who puts her servants in harm's way for her own selfish gains is not worthy of the title," she said, using her efforts to cast safety guard on Kishka so she wouldn't die in vain. The boss would not leave this opportunity go unexploited. He immediately cast a physical move, bringing Hahari to 1 HP and safety guard range. After a sludge attack, he used Hellcrusher 3, guaranteeing that those would be Hahari's last words. Perhaps Hahari will be reincarnated as the cutest baby ever. Infuriated by her mistress's demise, Mei took to the field. I won't forgive you, she said, as she cast the last spell of the fight, defeating the boss, earning us a win. No matter how many difficult fights we still have in the future, we will never let the sacrifices of those who helped us come this far be in vain. We will forge ahead, as we always have, head held high, and with pride on those who came before.